Hey everyone, welcome back to the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. I have my wonderful guest here, Laura. Laura, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and get to know you a
I
little bit
am
more. So,
too.
thank you
Thank
for
you for
being here.
having
I
me.
appreciate it. Yay! Okay, so where in this is I always start this question off the same with everyone. Where in the world are you? Where do you reside? Not address,
So
but where?
I live in Massachusetts, born and
Okay.
raised.
Hmm.
I grew up in a suburb in between, well, outside of Boston, and now I live south of Boston. I don't know if you're not from here, you probably have never heard of Cape Cod. Maybe you have.
Definitely heard of Cape
Oh,
Cod.
okay.
Yep.
So I
Actually,
live,
Boston is one of my favorite places to visit.
oh,
Like for
awesome.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I live kind of down by Cape Cod, but
Oh,
I work in
okay.
the city still. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Boston has always been my home and probably always will be.
Yeah. I love it there. It is one of my absolute favorite places to be. Um,
Where'd you
we've got a
go?
little bit of a delay here.
Oh, you
Okay, there we
froze for
go.
a second. You're back.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna edit this part out, but we get a
Okay.
little sometimes a little freezing, so I'm just gonna keep running with it. Okay. Unless I'm
Okay.
talking and then there's no response. But this happened yesterday, so okay, so back to Cape Cod. I how far is so you said you drive into the city. How far is that
Yeah.
drive? Is that a long drive? I
It's
can't
about an
remember.
hour. Yeah, it's
Okay.
give or take, without traffic a little under, with traffic a little more, but I'd
Yeah.
say an hour.
Yeah. How is that in the winter?
I'm used to it. Like I've driven
Yeah.
through more storms than I can imagine. So,
Oh
but in the
yeah.
last couple of years since I've been down further, because I used to live a little closer to the city,
Hmm.
but now since I'm down in Kingston, we haven't had as many bad storms. So I've kind of
Oh,
lucked
okay.
out in that
So
regard, but
not too
I
bad.
feel like I'm just used to it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. What about any hobbies? Do you have any hobbies out there? Any winter sports?
You
Any
know,
winter fun?
no, my hobbies are
Stay at home.
summer. I love the beach. I just am always at the beach any day I have off. I started bringing my kids to the beach as soon as they were 6 months old, each of them. So,
Mhm.
we're just waiting. My kids have been like, "Oh, it's kind of warm out. Is it time for the beach yet?" I'm like,
Oh
"No."
yeah. Yeah.
So that's basically winter is tough for us.
Yeah. Yeah. You just
We're
kind of
not
get
like
through it.
skiing yet because I'm not a great skier. I'm not about to try to teach my kids how to ski. I'll probably run over them.
Right, right,
So
right.
we're kind of
Right.
waiting on that for a couple
Yeah.
of years.
You look
So
forward to this summer. Yeah, I
yes.
get it. I get it. Well, I
Yeah,
live
and
in
we have all the
California, so
seasons here, so you really feel each one.
oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. My favorite is fall. I have been there in the fall. I did do the
Yeah.
little fall foliage
Beautiful.
tour
Right.
thing many, many years ago, but
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. And you're in
Okay,
California,
so
right?
I'm in California. Yeah.
Okay.
So sunny beach,
I can't imagine.
warm weather. I mean, I like to travel to the East Coast in the winter for a long weekend. I play hockey,
Oh, nice.
um so that's why I've been to Boston many times
Yeah,
because
tons
I've
of ice hockey around us.
played lots of tournaments there,
Okay, cool.
and my girlfriends and I like to travel over there and play and meet, hang out with the locals and then come home. We love it there. So,
Nice. Well, you'll have
yeah.
to reach out the next time you come.
I know. It'll hopefully it won't be too long because it's been a while. But okay, so tell me a little bit about your nursing story. Did you always want to be a nurse? Did you stumble upon it? I know typically the conversations I've had, there's actually a story behind why they've become a nurse,
Yeah.
which I love to hear that backstory. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your
Um,
nursing story.
so I was thinking about this because I actually did a podcast a couple months ago and I knew they were going to ask me that question. And I just happened to be talking to my mom a while ago about it. I thought that I always knew I wanted to be a nurse. Or, well, like, I guess I thought I knew starting like the middle of middle school, beginning of high school. My grandmother was sick. She was in the hospital.
Mhm.
Both my parents worked in hospitals. They weren't nurses, but just my whole family just was in medicine, I'd say. And my godmother, who I was very close with, was a nurse. My grandmother was a nurse. So I think once I saw my grandmother sick in the hospital, I was just like, yeah, like this is what I'll do. But then I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, Laura, you wanted to be a nurse since you were like 2 or 3. Like as soon as you could talk, you started talking about it. And
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. Like I don't even remember being a young child and having those
Right,
thoughts. My first
right.
inkling was like when I was more like a teenager. So I was
Older.
like,
Yeah.
wow. So I truly think it's just kind of a calling. It's just something
Mm-hmm.
that's innate, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to have like that passion for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that
Mm-hmm.
will
Mm-hmm.
that's how you can
Right,
stay in it for so long.
right. Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, I guess it's just kind of always been within me.
Did you go to nursing school right away after you graduated
Yeah.
from high school?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
you're
I
one of
was
the
like,
lucky
I'm
ones.
gonna go to
Yeah.
college and be in a nursing program and blah blah. And my sister was kind of encouraging me to go to a big school because she
Mm-hmm.
was a professor at the time, and she was like 95% of college students change their major in the first month. And I was like, I'm not going to change my
Right,
major. Like
right,
this
right.
is what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. And she was kind of skeptical, but yeah, I went right into it, and I actually started working at the hospital I work at now before I graduated. And I was fortunate enough to get a job there before I graduated, like a month, I'd say, or maybe it was just
Mm-hmm.
like 2 weeks before graduation, I
Mm-hmm.
got offered a job. So, and
And
that
was
was
it
in
on the unit
2008
that
when
you?
like the economy was crumbling and there was no jobs to be found. So I was very lucky with that.
Was it on the unit that you wanted? That job you got, was it on the unit you
No.
wanted?
So yeah, it was a research unit that did hematology, and they took some medical overflow.
Mm.
And so it was a very small unit. There was only 8 beds.
Mm.
So no, I did not, that was not my first choice, but
Right.
I knew I was like, hey, I just got an offer at the hospital that I've always wanted to work at. Like that was my goal.
Right.
So yeah, I took it.
Right. You got your foot in
And
the
I worked
door.
yeah, yeah. And you at that
Yeah.
point you needed to know like I needed to know someone to get a job there as a clinical assistant. It's not like that nowadays.
Right.
But to get into the hospital, you had to know someone. So I felt very lucky just to had been given that,
Yeah.
opportunity that then
Yeah.
led to the job position. So I worked on that. Yes, I started there. I worked on that floor for a couple years, and then I switched to another floor, and kind of have bounced around a little bit. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But you've always been at the same facility. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. That's it shows what a great facility it is too. I know for me, my history has been kind of bouncing around different environments. Um
Yeah.
so so tell me a little bit more about where you're clinically working now. Where are you at
Yeah,
now?
so I was just gonna
At
say,
this
so I always knew I wanted to do pediatrics. Like
Okay.
I never
From the
pictured working with
beginning.
adults.
Mhm.
Growing up, I worked at a camp with kids, and I just babysat a lot. I just was always around kids. So I knew I wanted to be a nurse, but I knew I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. So when I got a job at the hospital I work at now, that's kind of what's just kept me there is there. I work at the #1 hospital in the country, basically.
Mhm.
So it's like I
Mhm.
could never, there's no reason to
Yeah.
leave
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. So, and you're working in the unit you want to work in, and it probably
So
fills your
I
bucket.
worked on that first floor, the hematology medical research floor for 3 years, and then I worked in a step down unit for 8 years, and then I
Mm,
had my daughter. And I just realized, because at that point I was starting to do charge and leadership roles, and they were just asking
right.
so much of me. And I was like, I
Hmm.
just need to come in and do my job and leave. Like,
Yep.
I have a baby
Hmm.
that's not sleeping. And so I decided to go into the float pool,
Hmm.
which has been wonderful.
Mm,
That's really been my saving grace for the last 5 or 6 years. I just love doing that. Every day is something new, and I
right.
kind of just feel very independent with it. I don't have
Mm, hmm.
managers down my back, and
Right.
I don't get as involved with all the staff cliques and
Yeah.
struggles and
That's
drama.
interesting. I have a
So,
friend who
so yeah, I'm
loves
still
that.
I'm still doing that. I'm per diem, but I work probably like 2 days a week right now, depending
Hmm.
what I have going on with my business.
Hmm.
If it's slow, then I'll pick up another shift. If it's
Hmm.
not, then I'll
Hmm.
hang coming back. So
Yeah.
the flexibility is working really well for me right now.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. It totally sounds like it. So,
Yeah.
so talking about your business now, why did you choose legal nursing? Tell me how that came about.
Yeah. I think it's a long, convoluted story, but
It's
um,
okay.
for everyone, right?
We're here. That's okay. It's okay. Everybody wants to
Yeah.
hear.
Bedside nursing, I still love it, but it's hard, I think the hardest part though is just working for a large institution. I think that's what's been difficult for me, especially through COVID. I was pregnant during COVID and basically, I'll be honest with you, during COVID, or right after, they had such a nursing shortage that they were hiring a ton of travelers. And my hospital really never had many travelers at all because everyone always wanted, they always want to work in my hospital. So all of a sudden, we were seeing all these travelers come in and they didn't even have pediatric experience. And they were making 2 times what I was making. And that just felt, you know, it was difficult. It felt a little disrespectful. Here I am. I've been working at this one hospital for my entire career. I've been through a lot. I've given up a lot. First Christmases with my kids, the long days, just, the stories.
Yeah.
And so I felt I was upset by that they were paying people who had no pediatric experience 2 times what I was making.
Right.
Because in the end, it wasn't about the money so much, but it's that I knew the care I was delivering to the patients was very different than what those
Right.
nurses were delivering, yet
Right.
they were getting compensated for it.
Mhm.
And so I kind of was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
I know my worth and I
Yep.
know that I'm an excellent nurse, and I just feel like I'm not appreciated here,
Mhm.
really.
Yep.
And I knew it would be the same anywhere. I
Right.
think actually where I work now, we're probably treated very well. Nurses in a whole are just not supported like they should be. So
Right.
I thought, what can I do? I can't do this forever. I can't work these 12-hour shifts so far from home. I have 2 little kids.
Right.
Um, and I never wanted to climb like the leadership rings at the hospital. I never wanted to be a nurse manager. I never wanted to go back to school and become a nurse practitioner. Those things just didn't ever interest me, ever. Over the years, I've just been like, what can I do and what would interest me? And I've always had legal nurse consulting in the back of my head. And so finally, actually, my husband was in the hospital. I was going through a
Yeah.
tough time, and I'm like, this schedule just isn't working for me. What can I do? And I started looking into legal nurse consulting. I did some research, and I was like, this looks pretty interesting, actually. I feel like I could really enjoy this. And so I just went for it. And I've been so lucky because I truly love it. Like
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
so
Talk about a calling,
happy that
right?
I found something that I love.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm not the type of person to just do something to do it. Like I really have to be passionate about it. And the
Mhm.
passion's definitely there. Like I just get so excited when I get cases emailed over. I just can't help myself. I'm like, or when I get the records, I'm like diving right
Yep.
in. I'm like, oh, what
Yep.
happened here? I just
Yep.
get so excited. And I think that that's something I needed. I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Those
leave what I
spark.
was doing to do something that what didn't motivate me or didn't spark some sort of passion.
Right.
So, yeah, that's
Right.
how I kind of ended
And you
up.
can be your own cheerleader. You can be
Exactly.
your own boss.
That's it.
You
I
don't
was
need
like, you know what?
anybody telling you. Yeah.
I think the only option here is to be my own boss and just to
Yeah.
know my worth and then be able
Yeah.
to, say, hey, this is what I'm going to charge. I'm proud of this work. Here it is,
Right.
and take it or leave
Hmm.
it. And just be in charge of that whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the nursing, you're right. I so many stories over the last 5 years, where it's like really apparent on how hard nurses work and how
Hmm.
underappreciated
Yeah.
um, they are. Not
Yep.
by patients, but by
Right.
by the administration. It's like
Yes.
patients think, you guys saved us. You guys saved us through COVID or whatever, but it was the
Right.
administration. And yeah, you're definitely not the only story that I've heard
Yeah.
about that. It was a
And
really
that's why
tough
I tried
time.
to make the point as
Yeah,
when I started talking with you, is that like I love bedside nursing. It's
right,
not taking care of the patients that has become
right.
hard. It's
Yeah,
everything else,
it's the red tape.
you
It's the red
know.
tape. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah.
love hearing the backstory on how, we all kind of ended up in this world, because I think
Yeah.
everybody's story is a little bit different. And but the similarity is that we all really love what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We love, whether it's still working or doing this full time, everybody that I talk to loves what we're doing. So
Yeah. It's
I
so much
totally
fun.
get that. When you say, when the medical records come over, you get excited. You're like, okay, I'm ready to put this thing together. I know
Yeah.
that's how I feel as well. So
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
What do you think surprised you the most once you decided to go down this road? What do you think surprised you the most about this business?
Um, I think at first it was just everything that comes with owning your own business, being entrepreneur, like the personal growth, the personal struggles you kind of have to go through. But in regards to the business, I was actually just thinking about this is, I've been only ever worked in a hospital surrounded by women, surrounded by people who have high integrity and good hearts and are just here, there to help people. And now that I've kind of ventured into the business world, I see that that's not so much the case out here in this land. And so that's been interesting, just kind of eye-opening, I'd say, is just
Right.
seeing the different types of people and what people are after, um,
Mm,
in terms of money and
yeah. Yeah.
just excelling their own business or, trying to
Right.
do anything
Right.
they can to enhance their business, I guess I would say.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
that's just been the most surprising, honestly, from jumping out of the hospital into like more of a business type setting.
Yeah. But it's a business. It's not necessarily,
Exactly.
yeah. I totally get that, where, you rely on your team of colleagues. Like, you
Yeah.
guys are connected, especially going through COVID, right? You're
Yep.
connected, you have this similarity, you have each other's
You can,
back,
you
you
can trust
know,
them. Like you get to
you
know
can trust
people and you
them.
can trust them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally get. Yep. And then you're in a business world where you're, to each their own, and yeah, it can be eye-opening as well, because
Yeah.
not everyone is the same. Yeah. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so when it comes to your business, where do you feel like you shine? Where do you like toot your own horn? Where do you say, I have my reports, I have my I'm going to produce and deliver my product. Um this is, you have your stamp on it. Where would you
Yep.
say that is for you?
I think just coming back to like I really just get so involved in what the patient went through and just feeling like I'm here to advocate for them and help them and find things in these records that nobody else is going to find. And that just translates back to bedside nursing because I feel like
Mhm.
as a bedside nurse, that's my strongest asset is just advocating for my patients, not being shy and going straight to the doctors and saying, hey, this kid doesn't look good. They're even if they're like, oh, they're okay, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nope, they're not X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And so I feel like, even though it's a little different because it's just, reading through the records, but I'm still finding those things that, like, safety and quality and where did something go wrong and who didn't speak up or should they have
Right.
spoken up? Who should they have talked to at this moment in time? So maybe this medical error could have been prevented, stuff like that. So I feel like I just am still really advocating for people and helping people through this work. And I'm passionate about that. And so I think the passion just shines through.
Yeah.
And the lawyers that I work for can see that. And so they trust
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
And that's also important in my business, is having like a really trusting relationship with my attorneys. And I want them to feel like they can just call me and be like, hey, Laura, I just have one quick question for you, and not feel like they have to set up a Zoom and it has to be this formal thing and I'm going to bill
Right.
them for it,
Yeah.
because yeah, that's just trusting people and being honest. That
Right.
is kind of
Right.
who I
And you
am
have,
down
and
to
it
the
shows your
core. So
intentions. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Your intentions
yeah,
are for the greater good, right?
exactly. Yeah,
As we as nurses, that's really what we signed up for, is
yeah,
really for the greater good of our
yeah,
patients, of, those that are involved. I
exactly.
love that you shared that. That's something that I don't think that we necessarily translate all the time, is how similar your nursing life is into your legal nurse business. And it like you said, it's like your bedside nursing, you're advocating for the
Yeah,
patient, they're your number one priority, their safety, all of those things. And it does translate so well into what we're doing now.
yeah,
You're not just finding the needle in the haystack. The patient or the client
right.
is who you're advocating for. So,
Yeah,
um, I love the similarities, and I appreciate you sharing that.
yeah.
Okay,
No, I
so
definitely feel
what?
like
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. No,
I was just gonna say I think that my experience as a bedside nurse for 15 years or 14 years, whatever it had been before I started doing this, really prepared me for this business. In those kind of aspects. And
Mhm.
I really am trying to take along who I am as a core nurse into my business.
Right, right. So that's your signature. That's your stamp on it,
I guess
right? It's
so.
like yeah. I mean, that's it. If you had a signature that was attached to like your worth and who you are, and that's it. I mean, that really is it.
Yeah.
So what would you say is what your biggest accomplishment is so far in this business world? Do you have one that you're like, I'm so proud of myself for doing this? It was out of my comfort zone, or whatever. Something, a big
Sorry, can
accomplishment
you
for
just
you.
repeat that? I just you froze for
Sure.
a second.
Yeah, no problem. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment so far in this business?
I think I'd say just that I've continued to push forward, and I really because I know a lot of people start this and they give up and they don't. It's hard to find your own clients. It is hard, cold
Yeah.
calling, cold emailing,
Yeah.
coming from a place where I hate to say it, but I'm just a nurse. Like, I don't have a marketing degree. I don't have a business degree. So, it's been hard personally, to kind of trudge through all these things that are scary to do.
Mhm.
But I've done that, and I haven't, because I love it so much, I haven't got to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, that's actually never crossed my mind. And so, um, even if the growth, it hasn't happened as quickly as I would have hoped, because, I'm still working and I have two young kids.
Right. Right.
I
Right. Of
haven't
course.
let it totally deter my,
Hmm.
path, and
Hmm.
I'm just kind of chugging
Yeah.
along and
Yeah.
enjoying it while I go.
Right. So you're getting past, I guess your biggest accomplishment is really kind of getting past the fear of all of these new things, and
I think
pushing
it is.
through,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
being able to push through, it says a lot,
Yeah.
because a lot of the times, I'm sure, because I know I've had that over time, is where you self-doubt and you're like, well,
Hmm.
is this something I really like? Is this going to be, the for the long run? Am I going
Yeah.
to be good enough for this? Am I, all of this self-doubt, but pushing through it is really, um, where the magic is. Because
Truly.
I know
Yeah.
so many people quit right before anything, quit right before
Hmm.
the magic happens, because they think that
Yep.
the magic is not going to happen. And then pushing through that, it's like, oh, wow, this is on the other side. Oh, okay, I did
Right.
it. I did it. I pushed through
Right.
it.
No,
So
that's
yeah, no,
exactly
that's
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations for pushing
Thank
through. That's
you.
awesome. Yeah. 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 Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you launched your business. What was it? Did you jump right in and start marketing? Did you
Yeah.
start subcontracting? What did that look like
So,
for you?
I mean, I decided before when I was looking for courses to take to help me, gain some knowledge in this whole LNC world, I decided that I was just going to do it on my own. I wasn't going to, because, there's different routes you can take. You can work for a firm or you can work for an insurance company. And I was like, nope, the whole big part of this is that I want to be my own boss and I want to be fully in control, fully in charge, and just do it on my own. So because of that, I think it just takes a little bit more time. But when I did launch, I just started marketing. I had a friend of mine, she did my business card and my logo, and that was just so exciting, creating those things and just feeling like, wow, this is my own business. Like, this isn't just, a little hobby that I'm doing or, a little thing for fun. Like, this is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my mind and in
Mm-hmm.
life
Mm-hmm.
is a business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so just getting it out there, it was nerve-wracking but exciting. I just started marketing and my first attorney client was just so lovely and I couldn't have asked for a better client for my first because he actually referred me to a few other attorneys and he just loved my work and he was just so kind to me and he wanted to do anything he could to help me and to help my business grow. And so he was sending off emails in his, I forget what it's called. Oh, his like group email serve saying,
Mm-hmm.
recommending me. And so I got some traction there and like he was just lovely. So that helped because,
Right. You had a good
I haven't met
experience.
many mean attorneys or people that I wouldn't really want to have another conversation with. I can say I probably like one or two.
Mm-hmm.
But this first attorney was just so great. So that was a great way to
Mm-hmm.
start.
Yeah.
So I have mostly been doing work on my own. I did subcontract a few cases, pediatric cases, because I was like, of course, wherever I can get my
Right.
hands on the pediatric cases, I would love to help. So I did subcontract a few of those, but for the most part, I've just been doing it on my own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've subbed out a few cases under me when I've just been
Mm-hmm.
busy because I like to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Because I'm still learning, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to
I
do
get
the
it.
work and I like doing the work. But like I said, I'm still working at the hospital. So in the fall, I got a few cases at once and I was just like, I need help. I'm still working.
Yeah.
I have like two shifts this week at the hospital. So I did sub out
Right.
those cases and that's been great because I made, I feel like I have people I can trust who I look
Yeah.
forward to getting slammed again with work and being able to
Mm-hmm.
give them work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you're kind of
Yeah.
building your little team there. That's,
Yeah.
right. It's like you can mold your team.
Yeah.
When you're marketing, did you have the most success emailing or cold calling or LinkedIn? And everybody's
Ugh.
kind of different. That's why I always like to ask the question because
Yeah.
everybody's
I
different.
started with, I kind of was doing it all. I was doing emailing and LinkedIn and, Instagram, but then kind of was focusing on email for a while and just wasn't getting much traction with that. So then I went back to LinkedIn, just trying to post more and make more connections, and I've gotten a lot of new clients through there. So
Mhm.
and right now, honestly, I haven't been marketing for the last couple months. I've been getting just work from
Yeah.
repeat attorneys, or I've my referral basis is growing.
Hmm.
So that's great because isn't that just like the ultimate dream is just to
Right.
get clients purely on
Yeah.
referrals.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I kind of do a little bit of everything, and then just depending on what time I have that week, what I can focus on, I kind of,
Yeah. I get
yeah,
it. The
yeah,
balance. I too am working full time still. So, um,
yes,
thankfully my kids are grown now. I'll be an empty nester soon, but
wow,
the juggling and balancing on, marketing but
it's crazy.
you're not the only person that said this, and I think that seems to be a running theme, which I think is a really good thing, is that when you first market your business, you market it however you market it. You email,
Yep.
calls, LinkedIn, in person, however, everybody's different. But the great thing is that you do start to receive that repeat business and referrals, so that you don't end up marketing the same way as you used to, because you don't need to, which is such a
Right.
great feeling, that like you've launched and now they're coming to you.
Exactly.
And I seem to hear this happen often. I know I'm starting to experience that myself as well. I'm starting to
Hmm.
see those return clients.
Yep.
Um, I also still market, but the return clients is just kind of like make it a little easy to not have to feel like you're hustling.
Yeah.
You like
Yeah.
you did the hustle, which is just such a great foundation for your business. And
Definitely.
at any time you could tap right back into that. So it's
Right.
like
Exactly.
there's no lack of work, let's just say, right?
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. There's no lack
Yeah,
of work.
it is so funny how it just ebbs and flows. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just got an email last night from an attorney, that one of my first attorneys, who I haven't
Mm-hmm.
heard from in like over a
Yep.
year.
Yep.
And he just emails me, I've got a new case, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just
Yep.
like, great to
Isn't
hear
that so
from you.
fun?
Like,
I
where you
love that.
been?
It's so fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that.
But
It's true. It's true. I had the same thing. My very first attorney, who she was just so wonderful to work with. A year later, she was like, "Okay, I have this case. Oh, and my partner has this case. Oh, and then I have
yeah,
another one." I was like, "Oh, okay. I
yeah,
guess you've been busy in the last year." So it
right.
is
It's like,
really
and of course they
refreshing.
wait till last minute. It's like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. And all three at the same time. It's great.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about I know that you really work on your own. Do you have like a little networking group, or a little kind of group of colleagues that you kind of bounce things off of, or are you a lone wolf in your work?
Um,
There's no
in
wrong
my
answer, by the
work,
way.
yeah, aside from just like the Facebook support groups, that's really my main support right now. And I'll definitely, if I'm working on a case and have a question, I will throw it out there and I feel like I have a core group of other LNCs that I can just text or call, or even people, I've asked questions and people have been like, "Oh, I can chat." I'm like, "Oh, can I call you?" And they're like, "Sure." And then I'm just
Hmm.
talking to this person who's giving me great advice, and I don't know her, but like, so I'm so
Yeah,
thankful for that
yeah,
community that
yeah,
I've found. And that's basically, yeah, I'm not part of any other like business
yeah.
groups. It's basically just working on my own, and then reaching out for support
Hmm.
from my fellow
Hmm.
LNCs when I need it.
Yeah. No, I that was
Yeah.
one of the one things that surprised me the most about this business, is that I've had that same experience where
Yeah.
I had a question and someone was like, "Hey, let's hop on a call." Wait, what? Oh, really? And they were so great. I was so grateful, but they gave up so much amazing information that I was like, "Wow, this is
Yeah.
really cool." That it's like you're
Yeah.
going out of your way to share. I love this. I love this. It's
Right.
so nice
Right.
to be
Yeah.
supported like that. Don't
Yeah.
expect it, I guess.
Especially definitely looking up to women in the business, and there's men too,
Mhm.
but
I know.
who have been doing it longer than I have, and I'm just always looking to grow, and I love seeing how other people do things, and I just want to ask like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" And so
Right.
that's great that people that they find the time to help us,
Yeah,
newbies
and they're
out
not
here.
afraid to share. I mean, that's part of it
Right.
too. It's like, well, they could keep it, they could gatekeep it, or
Right.
they could
Right.
share. And
Yeah.
they're willing to share, which I think is just so amazing. Everybody wins. That's like my favorite theme, is everyone wins
Yes. Yeah.
in that scenario. Okay, so what would you say your biggest tip would be for LNCs when it comes to like your report writing? Would you
Your
get
report
would
writing?
you Yeah, your report writing, one tip
Yeah.
that like you use all the time that might be helpful.
So honestly, this is another reason why I love this. I've always liked writing. I've always liked writing. Like that's not something I like enjoy sitting down and writing a paper or I've actually written a few poem type things. And
Mm-hmm.
so the writing aspect comes naturally to me. I know there's lots of apps that, you know, like what's the one on Microsoft Word that helps
Grammarly?
everything sound better and like I don't use that. So I feel
Yeah.
like I don't even have great advice here.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's
but
actually really good advice. If you're a good writer, you don't need it.
I
I,
think,
however,
yeah,
use it because I'm not a good writer.
I guess I would
So,
say, I guess my one piece of advice would be read it out loud
mhm.
because that it just you just hear things and you're like, oh, even if you just switch a few words, it's gonna sound so
Mhm.
much better. And until
Mhm.
you like read it out loud, you're not gonna maybe pick up on those little details. So I guess that
Right.
would be now that I think about it, that
Yeah,
would
no, it's
probably be
good.
my
That's
one piece
good.
of
Yeah.
advice is read it
We
out
tend to
loud
work on our
and
own and
don't
don't
send
read it out
anything
loud.
in
So,
with anything misspelled.
I love
Like,
any sort of writing tips because
yeah.
I am not it's not my strong suit. I've written because I've been in management and in these
Okay.
roles that I've had to write.
Yeah.
So it somewhat comes naturally because of those roles, but I would
Yeah.
not say that I'm a writer by, by default. I
Yeah.
need
See,
all
I'm
the
the
help I
opposite.
can get. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've never been in any management role, so I really don't have experience there with the writing. It's just more like my personal like
Yeah. Well,
hobby,
you
I
probably
guess.
would be really great
Yeah.
because you're a good writer. Okay, so what's one thing that you wish you would have known before you started, or um, any sort of misconception, like, oh, I didn't. I guess we kind of talked about the fact that in the business world, things don't always appear as they seem.
Yeah.
But is there any other difference besides for something you wish you would have known?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, don't think so. I think I knew, going into starting my own business, being an entrepreneur, it was going to be hard. It was going to be a lot of personal growth, just getting through a lot of self-doubt and insecurities. So I knew that going into it. And I think you're right. I think just the only piece I kind of was totally unprepared for was being blindsided by
Hmm.
um, people that didn't have pure intentions.
Hmm.
Um, and just how that's a little different. You don't really see that in medicine. I think
Yeah.
everyone has good
Yeah.
intentions when they're in the hospital,
Yeah.
trying to help sick people, sick children.
Right.
So I think, but I read people really well.
Hmm.
And so I feel like and it's hard because most people you're meeting, it's over Zoom and or it's conferences that aren't in person or it's webinars, it's all through Zoom. So it's harder to get a good read on people. But I feel like when I have been in person, I read people really well. And it's just, unfortunately, part of life now is not being in person a
Yeah.
lot. So I was gonna say, like, just maybe kind of being more in tune to people's intentions and their
Yeah.
integrity, but it's just
Yeah.
so hard nowadays with
I
everything
know.
being over
I know.
Zoom and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but being upfront and honest about things, having a conversation with people and really try, it's just a matter of trying to understand someone's intention, and there's nothing
Yep.
wrong with that. So
Yep.
I think that that's a really really valuable advice,
Yeah.
is don't be afraid to ask, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, like I am just so
don't
transparent
assume.
and
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
like to get to the point,
Yeah.
because I really just am such an honest person and I can't tell a lie to
Hmm.
save my life, nor would I want to.
Right.
So I think, yeah, that has helped me when I have conversations
Yeah.
with attorneys.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I just got a new attorney and he basically told me that he had like 20, 30 med mal cases sitting on his desk and he wanted a nurse to help him with merit reviews, but he had hired a nurse before to write a merit review and, he paid her like $500 or $800 and basically she said, hey, there's no merit here. So he was like, wow, that was a huge waste of time. So he kind of was trying to like we just together tried to figure out a way that we could help each other. I could help him. Um, I could get work from him and, how would we do this? And we just had an honest conversation and we just decided that because he's like, I don't even need anything written. Like we could chat over the phone. And I was like, when I'm going through the records, though, I'm like taking notes, I'm writing stuff down. I was like, maybe I could just mock up a quick, I could just create like a quick merit review draft note thing for you for your intake for your clients, your cases, and then we could just have an informal conversation over the phone. And he was like, sure, that sounds great. And I was like, and you know what, I'll drop my price because if I'm not writing a report, it's going to take a lot less time. And I do feel like my report writing is really where like the true value, that's where my true value is. So I was like, well, if I'm not doing that, I'm willing to drop the price a little bit for you. And he's like, great. And so we've had this great relationship where he just, sends me a few cases. I take my notes, send it back, and then we have a conversation on the phone. And, hopefully he'll turn into more and he'll give me.
Yeah. No, that's great.
We just started working together a couple weeks ago, but.
Yeah, that's great. You just stepped in and you were honest. I love that.
Yeah, and he was honest, and so I was honest. I was like, all right, yeah, I can do that for you,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that. That's actually a really good little tip too.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Do you see yourself still working bedside? Do you see yourself not?
I think that, so right now I'm per diem, but I pick up a lot of extra shifts. So I'm really like part-time. I do like 20, 30 hours maybe. So I think in 5 years, hopefully I think I'll still stay per diem, but just do those minimum 4 shifts in 6 weeks, which is like nothing. And just be focusing and just working more full-time on my LNC business. And
then you don't have to commute.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I said, and then you don't have to commute.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That will be huge.
Right. I asked that question because I want you to look back in 5 years and go, yes, that's exactly what I predicted. So I love that.
I know.
Well, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your wisdom, for being a part of this. I really appreciate you and your intentions with your own business and with the community and really being a part of an amazing community. So thank you again for joining me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm so happy I met you. And I feel like I have someone else in my corner now and another colleague from afar.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. We'll talk.